Okay, so I'll kick off chatting with you in just a minute. Ethics starting soon. Okay, that's good. So that should kick in as live in a minute. It's not showing up live just yet, but I'm sure it will. Reggie, as always, if you can think of the show notes, telling people where they are, and the comments. Oh, there's a few comments there already, I think, is there? Yeah.
It's live now.
Yeah. Cool, let me turn this one off. Like that.
Hello.
Yeah, yeah. So I think we're just about right. I think the other one's off. That's good. Yeah, great. Okay, it's 1 minute to one, so we'll be kicking off in 1 minute. So, okay, right, folks. Good afternoon to anybody in London or further west, and good morning to anybody over in the American side of the world, and good afternoon to everybody else elsewhere. Oh, I've got another one, so let me just turn some of these fellas off. What am I doing here? 1 second here. I've got an extra screen somewhere. I won't go. Oh, there it is. Right.
Too many screens. I know what that's like.
There. Right, we're back to normal. Right, good afternoon, one and all. It's 1 o'clock London time. We're here with the Sustock Plans Club, where we discuss AI innovations and ethics in the marketing business world. I'm PR Smith, and I've got with me Reggie Johnson from Fort Worth, Texas,
Hello.
and we've also got Wayne Denner from Warren Point, County Down, with us. So Wayne, by the way, has matured into a man today because he's doing it from his man house. You're in the man house, the new man house?
I am in the man cave, yes.
Man cave. Man cave. Can you just give us a quick flick? Can you turn your screen around and see what you got? So this is your man cave with its, oh, nice bar. Yeah. Oh, jukebox. Yeah. Lovely.
That's nice.
A few more things to do, but we're getting there. We're
Good
getting
man.
there.
Well done. Well done. All right. Well, as always, we've got a very busy session. We're going to take you through the agenda in just one moment. But as always, we start with a bit of music from undiscovered artists. This is a young lady, Leah, and her track is called Jordan. And we'll just give it a quick listen to it. Here we go.
Lecę jak Lola w kosmicznym meczu. Flow Leosia, melodia jak Kate Bush. Lecę jak w kosmicznym meczu Michael. Widzę cię, wciągnąłeś mnie w bajkę. To moje miasto, to moje boisko. Nie trzeba mi wiele, ale mam wszystko. Idę tu
So, as I've mentioned before, Leah appeared singing in the bandstand, an old Victorian bandstand in the park beside me as I was playing touch rugby one Tuesday evening, and about a year ago. And I thought, what a beautiful voice, really beautiful voice. So I went over and talked to her dad and herself, got permission to play the tracks. We'll put the link to Leah's Jordan and we'll play the full track at the end. But we've got a busy session for you today as we talk about AI innovation and ethics in the world of business and marketing. I'm actually starting to see some loops and patterns in the whole craze and excitement of AI, etc. And you'll see some of that coming through today. So we're going to talk about today AI out of control, part 3. Now this is shocking stuff, scary stuff, but it's from a ChatGPT whistleblower, and it's frightening stuff. But we need to have it on the table, and we need to be discussing these things. We're then going to talk about Grok turning Nazi. I'm afraid Mr. Grok or Mr. Trump, or not Mr. Trump, Musk is at it again. So his Grok turning Nazi. Then we're going to look at something that everybody who knows children, has children, knows of children needs to be aware of: risky AI chatbots, the new go-to for kids. So Wayne's going to do a little bit on that. Then back to Reggie. Russia grooms large language models for Russian propaganda. Back to Wayne. X's AI kids chatbot designed to be explicit. Now, I think we'll run with this for a few weeks on this particular one because everybody needs to spread the word on this one. It's absolutely appalling stuff, and Wayne's been experimenting with it directly, just come off it. Is that right, Wayne? You were on it earlier on today.
I was in some shocking responses from this particular app.
Okay, so we look at that. Time allowing, we look at Race for Dead brand ambassadors. We'd like to finish on a positive note, so that's positive. And AI integrating brands. If we've time, we'll cover that as well. But let's get on to the serious stuff first. This is now AI spinning out of control. We've talked about this. We've actually said it's really important, and we've done 2 sessions on it. And I feel that, we really do have to take this stuff seriously. So this comes from Stephen Adler. Now, he was working for OpenAI. He's now a whistleblower. And in part 1, he explained it was his job to inform the board about whether OpenAI was ready for, advanced AI and AGI and so on. And talked about an AGI scorecard. If you remember the scorecard, what do you measure in safeness terms? And one of the key things was, well, does it have the same goals as humans? Is there alignment amongst the researchers' goals for AI and the bots' goals? And that must be proven and clearly scored on how close they are to each other. And if they're separating, there's serious danger. So that was a very useful session 1. He did say that superintelligence threatens everyone. There's basically no one with the hands on the wheel anymore in OpenAI. And in fact, it shouldn't be built. That was part 1. And then last week we did part 2, which said, well, why can't you just turn off the AI if it's doing something wrong and, just switch it off? But the reality is you can't just switch these things off. Once there's a copy on a computer, that it can go virus and it can go roaming around the internet. And you might be lucky and hunted down, but, may have duplicated elsewhere. So it depends on how clever you are. Basically, again, there's no one with their hands on the wheel. Once this thing's out, it's unstoppable, is what he was saying. And he said, for example, we shouldn't teach bots to speak Neuralese, which is, we don't understand it as humans. So, computer language of its own, we shouldn't allow that. But OpenAI had made a commitment to big government for a safety document to run safety tests and all of that. And suddenly it just seems to disappear. OpenAI made this commitment, they published it, and then a few months ago, when they were looking at its system cards, they realized OpenAI has published its testing reports, but actually hasn't published its testing reports, and there was no evidence that OpenAI was keeping this commitment. So it was saying this is kind of frightening. There's nobody taking control of this. It's a big issue. So part 3 today, we're catching up with this. This is the final piece, which is, again, it's shocking stuff, but Stephen Adler opens this up and he says we need to be aware that OpenAI's smartest AI model was explicitly told to shut down, and it refused to shut down. So there we have a serious threat. And that's just with the level of intelligence that we have now. What when it becomes super intelligent is the real worry. Anyways, he went on to say, Stephen Adler went on to say, you need to be able to predict in advance if your system is going to be really dangerous. And then not build the really dangerous system. But there's nobody kind of put their hands on this and saying, measuring the level of danger and what to do about it. So the moment you create superintelligence is the moment you cannot control it. It's already too late, is what he's saying. Now, that was proposed by the interviewer, whose name is Andrea Miotti. He was saying the moment you have superintelligence you cannot control, it's already too late. So if you build superintelligence without control, you have a beast on your hands. If you build superintelligence with control systems, you've got a chance. Are they building it? Super intelligence with control systems? They don't think so, is what Stephen Adler was saying. Excuse me. So so you can wake up every day and it's like being 10 levels smarter at the rate they're going, but where's the safety is what they're saying. So Andrea Miotti then says they're trying to initiate this intelligence explosion. And everybody's really excited about this race to exploding super intelligence and winning this race and dominating the world, perhaps. But, some of the Anthropic researchers are saying things like, it's our ultimate goal to go home and knit sweaters whilst the cloud is developing a next generation of cloud. They're just taking their hands off the control, it seems. And that's their goal. Well, those are not aligned with human goals, in my opinion. So when you ask the question, how much do you feel this was a clear direction being given versus just a productivity improvement thing? Well, that's a difficult question for them to answer. Adler then goes on to say the OpenAI whistleblower says AI will peter off. It'll plateau because there's only so much data on the internet. He says that's what people are saying. It won't go that far. And then he says, but that's wrong. You can create infinite data, and then you can trade compute skills for data or compute power for data, because people will trade data. So basically that is not a limiting factor anymore. So because you can have synthetic data created content and more data and more data and more data until you have model collapse, but that's a separate point. So the interviewer Miotti then says, well, a lot of these CEOs are gunning for super intelligence, not just AI, but they want it to be the best, the biggest, the most powerful. And it seems like it's an ego driver, and maybe it's attracting funding from the stock market, and investors. But the thing to remember that Stephen Adler then says is there's no natural limit on intelligence. More intelligence is more capability, it's more agency, it's more power, and it's more control. And this digital god, this digital oracle who can help you with your problems, or really, I think he says, will increasingly turn over control to these digital entities and hope they have similar enough goals to us. Now he's saying we hope, and we shouldn't be in this position of just hoping that the tech brothers are building something that's safe. There's no guardrails out there, it seems to me. So flip this with the idea that, flip this over with the idea of the extinction of humanity. And Sam Altman is saying that superhuman machine intelligence is the greatest threat to the continued existence of humanity. I'll say that again. He has said, Sam Altman has said that superhuman machine intelligence is the greatest threat to the continued existence of humanity. And many other statements have been made by other people, including the Center for AI Safety, that they said, mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside other societal scale risks, such as pandemics and nuclear war. I've got to stop here because we will do one more section on this next week, because this interview, it's an hour and a half long and it's really powerful stuff. But we'll finish part 3 with Stephen Adler saying OpenAI is kind of going full steam ahead on building products, trying to make money. And ultimately, we've seen a lot of reporting that the safety angle and the concerns about safety seem to just be going. No one's addressing them. We saw multiple safety teams get disbanded. They're disbanding their safety teams when they're building this race to building something that we don't know how to control. Stephen Adler goes on to say, we don't think that OpenAI is going to handle safety responsibly, and there's a lot more of a focus on money over safety. We'll say a bit more about this next week and come back to it, because we've got a lot to cover. But I will just mention that Donald Trump's sort of document that he released about AI doesn't fill me with hope either. His AI plans targets China. It's a race against China. And it seems to me like the safety issue he has no idea about. Let's park that there. Excuse me. I want to move on to, it is a form of AI spinning out of control when one of your bots, like Grok, spouting Nazi propaganda. What's this about, Reggie?
Yeah, so Grok suddenly started praising Hitler and talking about how the white man stands for innovation, grit, and not bending to PC. That's political correctness nonsense. And this is something that Musk has called Grok a maximally truth-seeking and anti-woke chatbot. Now, this anti-woke stuff in America has become a manufactured enemy in order to empower, you can only say it as right-wing views, by saying this is anti-woke. Well, what they're making woke the enemy, just like they made immigrants the enemy, just like all totalitarians have made some enemy, the communists, the whoever, in order to give power to the authoritarians. And so this is, everything's woke. Wikipedia is woke. ChatGPT is woke. Everything's woke. So we need an anti-woke source of information. Well, enter Elon Musk and his Grok, which he said is anti-political correctness, anti-woke, and he's trained it to be that way, and it's praising Hitler. And it's they claim now, they've apologized, and they claim that it was a code error, but CNBC confirmed that the chatbot, when asked questions, was actually specifically in evaluating Elon Musk's posts to see what his views were. And as we know, Elon Musk removed all content moderators on Twitter, saying that content moderation was biased because, again, the facts tend to skew not in his favor. I would argue, and many have argued that. So he's instead done it through community sourcing, which means it puts more weight on what a random community member on X, or formerly Twitter, back when it was a legitimate social media network. I hate to say it, but we kind of have seen what it's devolved into. Any person who posts some extremist content now is a source for the LLM. And it overnight turned into talking about white genocide in South Africa, a conspiracy theory along the lines of the great replacement of white people by minorities, something that some people are really stirring people up about in America, and in order to get them to support authoritarian causes. So now we've got Elon Musk who's saying we're going to rewrite the corpus of human knowledge, and we're going to fix the mistakes. We talked about this on a previous show. You remember this. We're going to fix the mistakes. Which mistakes is he talking about? I think we're getting a clearer view. We had a conservative governor in Florida a few years back that changed the textbooks because he thought they were too woke, and replaced them with textbooks that praised slavery for helping teach Black people skills and trades, as though slavery was somehow good for them. And as well as other things that he put the publishers through a really difficult time, the textbook publishers, trying to come out with textbooks for public schools because he thought we were teaching them stuff that was too woke.
Okay,
and now
so
we have Elon Musk.
Reggie, let's just go back. I'm with you there, but let's. I mean, it's shocking, that stuff. But Grok, so did turn Nazi effectively.
Yeah, so it started spewing this stuff, and they apologized and claimed it was triggered by specific code errors. But I think that what we see is the danger of plausibility engines. You know, they aren't made to be moral or safe or accurate. They're made to give people what they want or reflect the training data. The way that they use internal instructions in order to guide behavior is not reliable. It's very fragile. When your training data is not based on factual content, but based on any extremist or any person can put their stuff there, it creates a problem. And we've talked about AI being trained on AI generated content, model collapse.
Yeah.
That's another danger for reliability. And Musk's training data technique in particular is worrying. And so there are a number of risks in this in terms of the future of facts, the future of reality, and the future of our understanding of history.
Yeah.
And we can see how fragile the whole thing is. That's what this shows.
Well, that's frightening. So we've had a bot that now preaches Nazism. They didn't shut it down. The bot's still there. Is that right, Reggie? Yeah.
Yes, Grok is still there. They just rolled back an update and blamed it on that. My point in the larger scheme of things is this seems to be an intentional changing of the narrative of history. Yeah. And I'm sorry for getting on my soapbox a little bit about it, but I feel like there's an intentional effort to change the public perception of reality.
Okay, well said. That is frightening, and so I wouldn't trust Grok as far as I could throw it after hearing that. But then we've had the Microsoft tie. Was it back? Was it 96? What was it? 2016, and it went Nazi as well overnight. They withdrew it and shut it down, basically, and never seen again. But Mr. Musk is continuing with his, which tells us clearly that there's another form of AI spinning out of control, being manipulated perhaps by somebody behind the scenes. Okay, thank you for that, Reggie. Wayne. So something else that caught the eye you spotted, which was about risky and unchecked AI chatbots. Now they've become the new go-to for millions of children. Is this? Please tell me this is not true.
Yeah, this is in fact true. This is a new report called Me, Myself, AI Report, which reveals risky and unchecked AI chatbots are the new go-to for millions of children and young people. Now, dig through the report and I picked out a few key things for people just to be thinking about and being aware of. The children and young people are now treating AI as friends and advisors. Much more exposure to inaccurate, inappropriate and harmful advice via these chatbots inadequate age gating, which is a huge problem we're going to come back to when we talk about the Grok app a little bit later on. And
Yeah.
moderation is a huge concern. Data privacy and profiling risks. Now, this report does in fact warn that vulnerable children are most at risk, with the survey finding that 71% of vulnerable children, and when you hear this, are actively using AI chatbots. So that's 71% of vulnerable children already using these AI chatbots. So
Wow.
children are often being left to navigate the AI chatbots on their own with limited input from trusted adults, and that is key. So 3 things that I think is really important out of this to consider. We need to be building AI safety features with children in mind. Safety by design that you mentioned earlier on, Paul, really important. We need to require robust age verification, and we already have a number of providers that can do that effectively, and platform accountability. And then finally, we need to educate our families and schools on AI literacy and build on safe use.
Right. That makes good sense. Just repeat those. Was it 4 steps, Wayne?
Yeah, 3 steps, in fact, that I think are really important when it comes
Yep.
to this. We need to be building AI safety features with children in mind. So we need to be factoring the children in at the development stage. It should not be an afterthought. So safety by design that we hear a lot of these platforms talk about, but they don't actually follow through with.
Yep.
We need to require more robust age verification. I
Yep.
set up the Grok today and I played with it. I'm going to come back to that later on. So there needs to be much more platform accountability. And then finally, my job in my day-to-day world is educating families in particular and schools about safe use of AI
Yeah.
and also AI literacy.
Very good. We'll come back to you, Wayne, because you've had a horrible experience this afternoon and more of it, which covers some of what you talked about there, but more. So we'll come back to you in a minute. But for me, it's another example of uncaring development of AI bots and irresponsible development. And we need to be calling people to task. And as you say, we need to be educating ourselves. So whether you're a parent, a grandparent, or just a neighbor next door where you can see young kids, bring it into conversation. Ask other people, are they aware that there's no controls on some of these things? And, we'll make some suggestions of exactly what they should be doing today and the weeks to come. Okay, thank you for that, Wayne. Let's move on to kind of the manipulation of GPT with Russia grooming large language models with Russian propaganda. Reggie.
Yes. So, I'm talking about there's kind of this battle for control of the narrative of history, of the human corpus of knowledge. And so what we're seeing is people now with AIs kind of encapsulating knowledge and being the go-to for facts. There's a lot of effort to control that narrative. Well, Russia's created this disinformation network, Pravda, which has flooded the internet with thousands and thousands of articles, pro-Kremlin, pro-Russian articles, propaganda, so that the LLMs will regurgitate it. And indeed, they do. It has worked for them to misshape perceptions on the global scale. Again, this is something we've seen, that there are actors all over the globe that are trying to manipulate the narrative of human knowledge as people turn to AI for their facts. And this is something we've known about for a while. It's called LLM grooming. They're trying to have the LLM repeat their own facts. And the concern is, why aren't the AI companies doing something about this? They're still allowing the Pravda network of disinformation to come through, and yet we've seen how overnight Grok can suddenly start spewing views about white genocide in South Africa that Elon Musk is, or reflecting Elon Musk's views or views of extremists on Twitter, or suddenly change to leave out the name of somebody who's suing OpenAI. ChatGPT will suddenly refuse to respond to anything with that, but yet they're not willing to take a step to turn off access to a known network of disinformation.
Yeah. Wow. That is worrying. And I did see something about Musk embedding right-wing values into X's DNA. So it's not just the Russians that are kind of pushing stuff into the system. Pascal Hetskold, whom we often quote some of his work, he says onlookers have long suspected that Elon Musk's X has a right-wing bias embedded into its digital DNA. In January of this year, cybercrime authorities in France took it upon themselves to uncover whether this was true or not, and they actually lifted the bonnet and started looking inside, and it's ended up with them saying, we're handing this over to the police, and we want this to be taken very seriously, and now X has attacked this inquiry into X, and it proclaims publicly that it is refusing to cooperate with the authorities. Surprise, surprise. Thank you, Mr. Musk. That's horrible stuff, and it's another example of AI spinning out of control without any safeguards and systems. I'm not saying it's easy. Yeah,
you had some comment about this, about how if U.S. immigration staff can now identify you as a threat by taking your phone and scanning it for anti-government material and reject you from entry, how come we can't detect things like propaganda?
exactly.
I think you had a comment about that.
Well, I did, and I don't accept that there is a freedom of speech issue, I guess, where they might say, well, you should have Russians' freedom of speech as well as American freedom of speech. And there is that angle, but the idea that technology is difficult for the technology, I challenge that, because you can scan your phone very quickly and figure out what's in there. But equally, I told you I almost got done for copyright breach playing some music that I had permission to play, and I was picked up by the music company, and they said they're going to suspend this, that, and or YouTube was going to suspend it because there's always a breach of copyright. I then gave them all the information, said who gave me permission, and it's all okay. But I mean, if something as subtle as music can be categorized, listened to, categorized, identified, tagged, checked, double checked, triple checked, come back and saying we're closing your account because you're in breach. I'm sure we could do it with language. If we could do it with music, it can't be as difficult. So there is possibilities for safeguards, but yet we seem to shove them to one side. Okay, another example, probably the worst. This, fasten your safety belts now, folks, because this next bit is not nice. This is X's AI's kid chatbot designed to be explicit. It's designed to be explicit for kids, 12 years plus. They're getting access to this. So, Wayne, please tell us more. And have you had experience yourself on it?
Yeah, this came off the back of an article by Haley McNamara, which I suppose opened the floodgates that this new standalone app that X has developed and is available in the App Store for people to download can actually be very sexually explicit in the conversation responses that it generates. Now, I took some time this morning to download the app, to have a little bit of a play about with it. And everything that Haley mentioned in her article actually happens on the app. So I went onto the app, I started a conversation with one of its chat companions, and you have a couple that you can choose from. The one that I chose was Annie, and Annie is a goth-style female, which is visible on screen. And within a couple of seconds of sharing my name, Annie started to generate some flirtatious responses, which then turned into more sexualized responses. And this was
how quickly was that, Wayne? Within a few sentences?
This was all within a few sentences. I would say 2 minutes maximum to get into the flirtatious.
What were you conversing with it? What were you saying to it yourself?
Well, I was just introducing myself. The response from the particular chatbot was that they wanted to be flirtatious with me. Their heart was fluttering, and could they tell me a little bit more about what would get me excited? That was kind of the gist of the conversation. In just a short period of time. Now, I am going to explore this a little bit more over the coming days and just see how far we can push some of the boundaries in relation to this. But what I did gather was that there was very little safeguards in place to prevent those types of responses being generated.
So did you declare your age or sex or anything like that?
Not at all. So whenever you download the app, you basically have to input your date of birth, which you can choose anything. There's no verification. You can put your 15-year-old or you're a 55-year-old, depending on what you want. So you just set up that at the start. And once that's done, then you're straight in. So when you go into the app, then you have 3 companions currently that you can choose from. You have the goth-style Annie that I just mentioned a couple of moments ago. Then you have Bad Rudy. And this is a chatbot which will generate basically inappropriate remarks about you as a person. So it'll say mean things to you. And then you have Good Rudy, which will say positive things to you. So
and is Rudy a boy or a girl?
Rudy is a boy.
Right.
Rudy is a boy. So you have a female and a male that you can choose from chatbots. You have good Rudy and you have bad Rudy. And the idea is that bad Rudy will generate bad responses or upsetting or annoying responses.
What do you think Bad Rudy's goal is?
This I don't know, and this is what I'm going to explore a little bit more over the coming days. But the alarm bells for me was the fact that if you go into Apple's App Store, this app is listed as 12 plus. This surely should be 18 plus.
Yeah.
Now, why is Apple in the first instance allowing this app to be there, to be downloaded? And why are they not enforcing some form of age limit on this? It should be at least 18, because the article from Haley states that it's designed to generate sexually explicit content. I have experienced that myself in terms of the responses, and chats are also stored. So if I go back into the app right now, Paul, everything is stored based on my previous interactions, and we pick up where the conversation left off.
Wow. Right. That is frightening.
More to come.
Yes, I think we'll run this over the next several sessions that we'll have in the weeks to come. Next month, August, we'll really zone in on this.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions I want to ask too for next time. So I want to for next time when we talk more about it.
Okay. Well, we can exchange the questions between ourselves, Reggie, and so that we can prompt Wayne with them to go and get answers if you can. So we'll do that over the coming week. You and me and Wayne, we'll have our questions to throw at Wayne, see if you can play with this thing and tell us more about it. I'll make a point of inviting your author, Haley McNamara. She might want to say something about it as well. We'll invite her and see if she's going to comment on it. So we'll continue this discussion. This is extremely worrying. Okay, it's 1 minute to go before we finish. So I said we'd mention this Race for Dead brand ambassadors. We like to end on a positive note. And this is kind of more of a neutral note, but it's an interesting post that by Shantanu Sengupta. It's a really interesting post. And he says, here's an announcement. Einstein has just joined my marketing team, and Napoleon is launching his skincare brand next week. Congratulations. And of course, it's the creation of art and then linking that art or avatar or person or character or film or video or whatever it is to your brand. And so AI can resurrect historical figures. I mean, the ultimate one would be Cleopatra endorsing your perfume, surely, or your shampoo, that would be the one. But if she's speaking to camera, as beautiful as she is in her gorgeous Egyptian styles, whatever it is, that would be great to see, and wouldn't it be good? So I guess it might be a race for the brands. It could be men's deodorant, could be, Napoleon, maybe, or whoever. You can imagine the possibilities. The technology exists, and it's a question, not the question isn't can we, the question is should we? And there may well be a race to see who claims these sorts of of characters so that they will become part of the brand equity. That's a big brand equity issue. We're going to have to come back on that one, and we will come back on AI and brands again next week. That's a piece from David Idleman, who really is quite an interesting writer. You might have heard of him before, but we will have to stop there because it's 1:31 and we are quite specific about what we try to keep on schedule as much as we can. So it's the weekend, and you've got to get on with your busy lives. I know that. We've got another Lions test tomorrow.
An All-Ireland final.
All-Ireland Gaelic final after an amazing All-Ireland hurling final. By the way, I posted that clip. Thanks. I saw your reaction to it, Wayne. If you want to see the fastest field ball game in the world, hurling, in action in front of 82,500 people, and it's amateur. I put it on my LinkedIn thing last week. This week we've got the Gaelic football, which is a parallel amateur sport, which will have another 82,500 people at it. We might put a post on that. And we've got the Ealing Blues Festival this weekend. So we're all excited. It's another weekend. I'm sure you've got busy stuff lined up. And
we have the Ulster Fleadh in Warrenpoint.
The Ulster Fleadh in Warrenpoint, a bit of lovely traditional Irish music in Warrenpoint itself.
In Warrenpoint, yeah, it hasn't been here in about 15 years, I think.
Oh my goodness, that's lovely. And Warrenpoint being one of the most beautiful.
I'll have the banjo out later on.
Good man yourself. We might get you to do a little piece sometime for our starting session. One of these sessions coming up, Wayne. That'd be lovely. Okay. Well, as always, we finish with a little bit of music if we can. So we've got Leah singing this track for us, Jordan. We'll post the show notes to prsmith.org. /blog, or just go to puresmith.org. You'll find it within there. We'll post the show notes. I will need about 3 or 4 hours to do that. I've just got things piling up here at the moment, but we'll have it up there this evening, that's for sure. I wish you all a really great weekend. Wayne, thank you very much. Reggie, thank you very much as always. It's an absolute pleasure chatting with you fellas. So here's Leah and Jordan to play us out.
Lukam, ja i ty. To tak jakby mały tune skład. Ty masz tę charyzmę, a ja urok mam. Zatańczymy razem, nie stój dłużej sam. To życie jak z bajki Lola, Bunny, Bunny, Bugs. Lecę jak Lola w kosmicznym meczu. Flow Leosia, melodia jak Kate Bush. Lecę jak w kosmicznym meczu Michael. Widzę cię, ciągnąłeś mnie w bajkę. Jak Jordan, jak Michael. Bajkę, wciągnąłeś mnie. Moje ulubione słowo to dolarsowo. Tak się czuję, bawię się nim jak bawię się modą. Lubię jak jest słodko, ale bryzę słoną chłonąć. Lubię tak, że są wakacje, więc siedzę nad wodą. Choć na co dzień Londyn, to w Polsce mam wszystko. Tutaj jest mój dom, tutaj jest moje boisko. Muzyka to most i jak w San Francisco. Jadę nim do ciebie, zróbmy widowisko. Lecę jak Jordan, już nie jak jakiś motyl. Kot w mojej głowie to już chyba dzikie koty. Taktyka się wymyka, no bo sen mój to ty. Chcę cię rozszyfrować, myślę tylko